I'm
Your
wearing
hair
my
is like,
peach schmata.
no, you look really cute. You're kind of tan and freckly. We both have our white shirts on. Oh my goodness. And I think we are live.
Yeah, we're live.
We're
Hi, everybody.
live. Hi, everybody. Hi. And let's take a few minutes for everybody to find us. You guys, if you're going to make a comment, do me a favor and just put your first name before a comment. And then if you want to ask questions, just make sure that you put your first name before the questions so we can see who you are. Liz, can you see where the comments are at all?
Oh, I
It's
see a
Liz and
chat.
Liz.
Hi, everyone. I see a chat. Is that where I should be looking?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see it too. So you're on your phone, so
I'm on my phone.
it
Yeah, I
might be
won't be
to
able
the
to
right of
see
it.
you and the comments at the same time, but I'll let you
Okay, I
peruse
can
the
read them.
comments, and if there's anything I need to know about, I know you'll let
All
me
right,
know. Hi,
everybody's saying
everybody.
hi. Inma's here, Amanda's here, everybody's here. Okay, good. We'll give everybody a few minutes. And I was just telling, I guess I have to say I'm Liz Dawn. This is Liz Gilbert.
Liz D and Liz G.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about this beautiful piece of artwork.
Oh.
I'm just in love with it. And I always brag about how this is a galley copy. I'm like, this is a galley
I
copy,
remember when
everybody.
last I saw you, you were like, I've got the galley.
And my favorite thing to do, of course, to show up that you signed it.
Of course.
It is like, it is the book of the century. It really is. It is the story of the century. And I've got so many questions. And I know that if you have questions, you can start posting questions and I'll go to that. But it is such an honor, such a pleasure to see you with all your cute freckles. I love it.
I've been in the sun. I've been in the sun, disregarding warnings against the sun. But I've been at the beach, and it's been beautiful here in Fire Island and on the New York summer coastline, which is so wonderful.
It's gorgeous.
And I've been like, and my mind is like full of sand right now. So I'm going to do my best to focus on being intelligent, but I haven't had to be intelligent for the last week. I've just been like sitting in the sand. So I'm going to really, really try. But it's so
somehow,
good
I
to
don't
see
think you
you,
have to.
Liz Dawn.
Oh, and I don't think you really have to work at being intelligent. I think it just
Thank
comes
you.
trippingly off the tongue.
Thank you, my dear. I'll try to prove you right.
Well, yes, I know
Hello,
this.
everybody. We love you, and wherever you are and however you are, I'm just sending you all a lot of love in these, my friend always says, in these fill in your favorite adjective times, in these challenging times, in these difficult times, in these interesting times, in these devastating times. But you always have to reference these times because they are truly interesting, challenging, devastating, whatever you're all going through. Just sending you a lot of love, and thank you for joining us today.
And sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's wild, sometimes it's insane, sometimes it's hilarious, and I'm just laughing at the insanity. So it's kind of like this, right?
Yep. I know that. I know that ride well.
Yeah. So let's talk about City of Girls, because we've had several thousand people reading the book this past month. We chose it as the book of the month for August because it's my birthday in August. And so as a Leo, I got to choose for the Celebrate Your Life Book Club.
Of course you're a Leo. No wonder I love you. Leos make Cancerians feel safe. That's why I love you, Liz Dawn.
See, my mother, when's your birthday? In
July
July?
18th.
My mother's was July 17th. She was my comrade in arms, my
I know,
crazy
she was
woman
your
who would do.
person. She was your person.
She still is here. Okay, so let's
that.
talk City of Girls.
Yeah.
City of Girls. So I know how long it took you to write this book, but I'd love for you to share with everyone, how long did it take you to write this book?
Well, it came in parts. It took me, I probably did about 4 years of research on it in order to even begin. For me, when I'm writing novels, the vast majority of the time is spent in research. I've mostly, well, I've written 3 novels, and all of them were set in times and places that I never lived in or existed in. And this novel is set in New York City in the theater world in the 1940s, obviously I did not live in New York City in the 1940s or know anything about the theater world. And so it was a huge amount of research. And for me, it's like the research is like learning, it's like learning a second language. It
Mhm.
takes about 3 or 4 years before you can really communicate. And what you want is to get so familiar with that time and that place and that way of being and the way people thought and moved and dressed and spoke that you can speak that era without an accent. So it just sounds
Mhm.
natural coming out of you. That takes a while. So just a ton of research. And then I was about to sit down and start working on the book when the love of my life, my beloved best friend and partner, Rhea Elias, was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer. And my entire life turned upside down, and I knew, I just followed the divine command. I knew that I had to leave my marriage and go be with her and take care of her and have that time with her before she died and change the nature of our relationship, from friendship to love. And well, it had always been love, but from friendship to intimate love. um, and she ended up living a year and a half, during which time I did no work on the book whatsoever.
Mhm.
And moreover, thought, I can't imagine ever caring. I can't imagine ever caring
Yeah.
about frivolous showgirls and champagne cocktails and playboys and glitter in New York City in the 1940s. I can't, who cares? And then Rhea died, and I got a signal, and I can only describe it. And I know you get this, Liz Dawn, because you're oriented this way. So I can talk about this freely with you. But I take my creative commands from what I have, just for lack of a better term, come to call the mothership. And the mothership is just this guide in the universe that just tells me what to do next, and I do it. And the mothership communicated to me that it was time to sit down and write that book. And I was like, sometimes you negotiate against the mothership. You're like, really?
Yes.
Like, really? Are you sure? Are you sure of that book? Because the love of my life just died 2 weeks ago, and you want me to sit down and write a comic, sexy, rollicking champagne cocktail novel about sex and love and theater and showgirls and feathers and boas, and the mothership was like, yep. It's what's going to heal you. And I listened, and that's what I did. And then it took a very short time. I wrote it just in a couple months. So that is the origin
500
story of City of
pages.
Girls. Yeah,
500 pages. Now, when you were doing all of this research, did you know the topic of your book? Did you know that this
I
was
did.
going? Okay.
I
And
did.
what
I mean, I had
inspired
very, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
what inspired you? Like what made you decide showgirls in New York City in the 1930s and 40s? Like what?
Well, I wanted to write a love story about New York City because New York is the other great love of my life. And I know you either, it's immediate, it's love at first sight, or it's not with New York. And for
I
me,
grew up there, so yeah.
oh, it's just I've always called. Actually, it's funny. I keep mentioning mothers. I've always, my nickname for New York is not the Big Apple. It's the Great Mother, because New York has taken me in so many times in my life. I've moved to New York City 5 times in my life. every time,
So that
every time
brings you
I
back in. I get it.
fuck up somewhere else. Every time I just, well, it's more that like I kind of decide that I'm going to be normal and settle down with somebody and move, and then I like, it doesn't work for me, and my life blows up, and New York's like, come back, honey, we've got a spot for you. And so I just love it. And my character has a very similar trajectory of growing up in a small town, moving to New York, falling in love with it, being cast out, and then being brought back in a welcoming way back to the city. I wanted to tell that story, and I wanted to, for me as a lover of New York City, I can only imagine it, but I feel like the most impossibly glamorous moment of New York's history was the 1940s, the war years, and before and during the war years. And I've always wanted to write a book about promiscuous women, and I wanted to write a book about promiscuous women whose lives are not destroyed by their behavior and by their acting out, as we might call it. They have consequences and they have things happen to them, but their spirits are not destroyed. And I wanted to write this book as an answer to the endless library full of novels, mostly written by 19th century men about the fallen woman, the ruined woman, the destroyed woman. I wanted to write a book about a woman who has sensual and sexual urges and desires and acts out of them, often irresponsibly, and whose life is not ruined, destroyed, and who is not fallen and broken. And that just felt like I needed to do that for all of womankind. So I decided to
And
set
we
my
applaud you.
promiscuous,
We thank
you
you.
are
We're glad to
welcome.
have you.
I
So
decided
you
to
went
set
into
my
this book
promiscuous
with
novel in New York in the 40s, just to throw it all together.
perfect, perfect. And did you walk into the writing the book with these like lessons and these teachings in mind? And were there other teachings that you were thinking about? Because I want to ask you about one particular moment in the book.
Tell me, which one?
Okay, last chapter when Vivian's talking to Frank, and there's going to be spoiler alerts. So for those of you who haven't finished the book, big spoiler alert coming here. So
Close your ears, close your ears.
so when she's talking to Frank, right?
Yeah.
And he's going on about the drama with the war, right? With everything that's going on with him. And then he ran into that guy, Tom Deno, I think his name was, Tom Deno, and he's just gotten through seeing him in court. And he's taking on the story, if you will, that he's a coward, that he's a soft, I think you put it a softie or something like that.
A soft
And
apple. Yeah.
soft apple, that's right, a
Yeah.
soft apple. And she grabs him and says, and just busts him on the story. And I thought, this just reeks of Byron Katie right here,
Yes.
right now. It's like, and do you know that to be true? And what if that weren't true? And I was like, she's Byron Katie him right now. It's like, I've always wanted to ask you that.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I had the year before I had gone to Byron Katie's School for the Work. And yeah, so I've been 9 days steeped in Byron Katie. And so yeah, of course I had to infiltrate a little bit of that into my mid-century American novel.
It's all Katie right here. But it was
Totally.
perfect because you did it in such a way. So you knew you were doing that, right? You
Yeah.
like that was
Yeah.
okay.
And you know, one of the things I love in Byron Katie is it's not just the question, is it true? But it's also you take a deep belief and then you ask, basically you ask of it, and so what? And then what? And what does that mean? And that's what Vivian is doing with Frank, because he's saying, I'm a coward, I'm a coward, I was not meant for war, I'm not a real man. And she doesn't contradict him and say, no, you're the bravest man in the world. She says, yeah, and so what? Like what? So what if you are? Go ahead and read it. Yeah. And that diffuses a lot of ego. Like when we take the thing that we're most ashamed of and say, yeah, so what? And then what?
Oh,
Yeah, so
and
you failed, so you blew it. So what?
you're just okay. Wait, no. Wait.
Talk among yourselves, readers.
Here we
Okay,
go.
here she comes.
Here we go. I found it. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, let's have it.
Page 443, at least in my unedited copy.
Galley. Yes, exactly. Your
My galley.
signed galley.
So Frank says, Tom Denner was right, Vivian, he said. I've always been a soft apple. I wanted so badly to comfort him, Angela, but how? Aside from my presence in the car that day as somebody who would listen to his awful story, what can I give him? I wanted to tell him, by the way, I love reading your book out loud.
I do
I
too.
was doing that every coming on and reading it out loud. I wanted to tell him that he was heroic, strong, and brave, and that Tom Deno and the rest of the 704 Club were wrong. But I knew this wouldn't work. He wouldn't have been able to hear those words. He wouldn't have believed them. I had to say something, though, because he was in such pain. I closed my eyes and begged for my mind for something useful to offer. Then I opened my mouth and just spoke, blindly, trusting that fate and love would grant me the right words. So what if it's true? I asked. My voice came out harder than I expected. Frank turned to look at me in surprise. What if it's true, Frank, that you're a soft apple? What if it's true that you were never made for combat and you couldn't handle the war? It is true, he said. Okay, then, let's agree that it's true, just for the sake of argument. But what would that mean? He said nothing. What would it mean, Frank? I demanded. Answer me and take your hands off the goddamn steering wheel. We're not going anywhere. He took his hands off the wheel, set them gently in his lap, and stared down at them. What would it mean, Frank? If you were a soft apple, tell me. It would mean I'm a coward. And what would that mean? I demanded. It would mean I'm a failure as a man. His voice was so quiet I could barely hear him. No, no, you're wrong, I said. And I had never been more fiercely sure of anything in my life. You're wrong, Frank. It would not mean that you're a failure as a man. Do you want to know what exactly it means, actually means? It means nothing. And there's my audition for the movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Cut scene Oscar.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Close.
It means nothing.
I love that. I loved that part of it.
Thank you for your dramatic reading. That was beautiful.
No, well, you know I used to be an actress. Of course, it's still in there somewhere. Like peeling away the layers, somebody just said. Okay, so we have a few questions. So let's go here too. So I know there were some questions up above here. When you write, this is from Michelle Wade. When you write, is it your soul coming through to heal unsettling trapped thoughts within, or to illuminate your true heart's desire, or both? And then she wants to know, why do you write? Because she's good at
it. I'll answer the second question first, because I'm good at it. I've always been good at it. I was good at it as a kid. There were so many other things in my life that I tried to be good at, and I wasn't. I wanted to be a gymnast. I'm 5'9" and gawky, and that was never going to happen. I mean, I've put effort into a lot of things in my life, but for reasons that I will never know, I'm good at this, and it feels good to do it. And I've been lucky enough that people want what I make, and so it's a real no-brainer. It's like I could make, and I know it's so funny. I have friends. I remember certain friends who are good at things, and like there's a resentment or resistance when they're like, I remember a friend saying actually about something that she was very good at. I don't want this to be the thing I'm good at. Like, um, well, you don't get to kind of pick the thing that you're good at. There's a certain amount of practice you can do, but I don't know. There's a mysterious reason why I was given this, and I don't argue with it. I'll take it. It's the one thing I'm naturally good at. Thank you. Um, that's it. My path is clear. But is it healing pain? Sometimes, sometimes it's working through questions I have in my own mind about my own life. Sometimes it's for delight. Sometimes it's for my own exploration. Sometimes in one case, when I wrote Big Magic, it was the one book that I feel like I wrote really as an offering, to say to people, look, I've got some information here that might help you. That's the only time I think I've ever done that directly, where it was really for others. But with the rest of the stuff that I do, it's for me for various reasons, and it definitely is very healing. I've become a meditator in recent years, but it's taken me 20 years, literally 20 years, to be able to finally sink into meditation practice. But prior to me finally landing in my meditation practice, I would say that everything that the spiritual texts promised me that I would get from meditation, I have always gotten from writing. The stillness of mind, the ability to sit quietly and hours go by and your mind isn't chattering because you've got single pointed focus, the sense of peace, the sense of tranquility. So it's also, to me, it's a great spiritual gift, personally in my life, and it's a psychological and emotional gift as well, because those hours a day, or whatever time I spend writing, is a vacation from having to be a self. I don't have to I don't have to be Liz Gilbert. It's a nice break from, I don't mean Liz Gilbert, a public figure. I mean just human being with a muddled head. I don't have to be that. I can vanish into the work, and it's a wonderful holiday from my own mind. Even though it's mind-centered, it's brain-centered work, it's a different part of the brain, and so it's a peaceful thing for me to do.
It's meditation. It's your
Meditation.
meditation.
Yep, yep. It's like walking
I,
meditation, except
Wayne
talking
Dyer,
on the page.
Wayne Dyer used to talk about that his running and his walking, because he used to run like a gazillion miles a day
Yeah.
before he hurt his back, and he would say, I'm in pure meditation. I'm in pure movement and just pure
There are a
meditation.
lot of ways to get there, and
Yes.
exercise is one of them, and meditation is only one of them. Meditation is one of them, but it's only one of them. And I really do believe there are people for whom it is not only not helpful, but actually harmful. If you have a certain kind of active spirit, I don't think that meditation is necessarily something that should be prescribed to everybody. Your friend and mine, the beloved Rob Bell, who we will be doing an event, a Celebrate Your Life event with in October. He told a story once about how his wife gets up. She's a very quiet person. She gets up every morning, sits in perfect stillness, and meditates for 45 minutes in a small white cushion in the corner of their bedroom without moving a muscle. He tried it for years, and all it did was bring him pain. And he now, while she's doing that, takes his surfboard and puts it on the top of his car and goes to the ocean and he surfs, and that's his meditation. And I think you get to decide what it is that brings you into single pointed focus and stillness, and it does not have to be sitting on a cushion. I just want to say that to everybody. If you're struggling with it, it's not required. It can be something else.
It looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
It looks okay. So now that you've talked about Rob Bell, I just want to ask you really quickly, for those of you who don't know who Rob Bell is, Liz Gilbert's going to tell us. And we're also doing an event with both of them. We were supposed to be together in person, but the universe had other plans. And we're going to be doing it online on October 31st. So tell us about you. You actually chose to do this event with Rob Bell. Tell us about Rob Bell.
Oh, Rob Bell is my brother.
You
We actually
really,
even
I
look
gotta say,
alike. I
you
mean, if you take, yeah, if you want to do a fun thing, take a picture of Rob Bell, put it next to a picture of me, and switch our hairstyles, and we have exactly interchangeable heads.
need
Um,
to do that for
we're like
Banner.
Lego, we're like those Lego toys that you can just put different hair and hats on, and but we have the same face.
It's
So
beautiful.
Rob Bell grew up in an evangelical Christian background, and from a very early age had a calling to be a minister, and not unlike me with writing, had a calling to be particularly somebody who gives sermons, the art of the sermon. And he went to divinity school, and he became a minister, and it was all very well and good. And he's incredibly charismatic and truly connected to source, and ended up with a church with 10,000 followers, and in Michigan, and then had a nervous breakdown because he simply could no longer. The way he described it, he was driving to preach the Easter Sunday sermon, and at a red light stopped and realized, I don't even believe this story. I don't even believe this story, and it's my job to convince people of this story. And had really a big crack up over it, and because his God sense was so huge, and his connection to Christ the teacher was so huge, but the literalness of the Bible and the rigidity of contemporary Christianity, just he couldn't abide it, and he ended up starting all over again and preaching something very different, and becoming one of the number one heretics in the eyes of the right wing Christian religion in America. Rob Bell's one of the great heretics, which is, if for no other reason, that's why you should follow him. You can't get
He's
a
got
better
such a
endorsement than
brilliant
that.
mind.
And he's been a great resting place for people who maybe grew up with any religious tradition that was. I heard a term recently that I loved: a high demand religion. If you grew up in a high demand religion, and that high demand religion became impossible for you to be able to sustain, because as you grew older and your wisdom opened and your mind opened, you could no longer live within the constraints of that high demand religion, and yet you feel God, you feel divinity, you feel spirit. Rob has become a place where a lot of those people have washed up on his shore, because he hasn't thrown away the baby with the dirty bathwater. He's found a way to connect to spirit without formalized religion. And he's a beautiful thinker, a beautiful speaker. I met him when I was on tour with him on the Oprah Winfrey tour. I loved him just from the beginning. He has a mind that electrifies
Brilliant.
my mind. So
Brilliant.
so when we get together in a room, it's you know it's and we've taught creativity workshops together. He's also one of the most fertile creative minds that I've ever met. Free, unhinged, writes a book like every 6 months on different things. He writes plays, he writes poetry. He's just so tapped into divine creative source, and so we never miss the opportunity to work together and to create together. So we'll be offering, with your help and guidance, Liz Dawn, we'll be doing this online creativity all-day workshop on October 31st. And I can genuinely say, don't miss it, because it not just don't miss the chance to get to be in the presence of Rob Bell's mind. It's a mind quite unlike any other.
So
And
excited, the two of you together. It's going to be an
yeah,
all-day event. Let me just talk about that just for a second, and then we're going to go back to some of your comments and some of your
yeah,
questions. It's going to be an all-day event. No matter where you are in the world, you can be with us. Saturday, October 31st, so it's on Halloween. It's all day, but you have the evening to go and play and trick or treat or do whatever you want to do. But we're going to do that all day. There's the URL. I just posted it underneath. And come join us. It's going to be fabulous. We're going to have such a great time. And if you've never, ever, ever been, and it's going to be kind of intimate, because we're doing
yeah.
it in a way. We've got this production company that you're going to get to see everybody, Liz. You don't even know that yet.
Oh,
You're
cool,
going to get to
cool.
see everybody, and Rob's going to get to see everybody, and we can do question and answers, and it's just going
Oh,
to be really,
great,
yeah.
great, great.
Because when the universe throws things at us, we change, we adapt, we move, and
And
yeah.
one of the amazing things about it is, of course, we were so disappointed because we were supposed to do this in May in person, with a whole bunch of people in a room. And of course, right now, nobody except the Republican National Convention is doing anything with a lot of people in a room. But anyway, they're, they're
But we're not going to do it, okay? We're not
we're
going to
not
be
doing
together.
things in a room, but what I've learned when I mentioned on social media that this event was happening online, there are suddenly people who would have never been able to come, who are able to come, people who are in South Africa, and people who are in Eastern Europe, and people who are in Argentina. Like, it's really going to it's going to have a very different spirit, because it'll be genuinely global, and that's beautiful. And I'm excited about that. So it's happening.
So there's the URL. Now I don't know that I know how to get rid of this thing now. How do I get? Okay, Tanya, tell me how to get rid. Well, it's there.
Just leave it up.
It's there. Okay, it's
I don't
there.
mind looking at it.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna
So
wear it like a turtleneck on my
there we go.
there on
Let's
my
just
image.
here. There we go. My chin is resting on it. Okay. Hi, everybody. Oh, I'm really excited because this is my first time working with Rob Bell. Of course, we've worked
Oh,
with you many times now, and he's
best.
just. We got a chance to talk. We had a Zoom conversation, and he's just lovely and brilliant
Yeah.
and creative and wild and
Yep.
interesting. And we're
Yep.
going to talk about all kinds of fun and juicy things, and you're
Yeah.
going to do some exercises, and we're just going to have a really, really fabulous day. And think about all the money we're going to save on hotel and travel. That's what I
That's
keep. I keep
right.
looking at, like, the positive. I'm like, okay, we're just going to, there's a plus to this. All right, there's always a plus to this. All right, so okay, let me see if anybody else has any questions. Oh, look at Wendy Abrams is watching from Philadelphia. That's my cousin Wendy's. All right, I
Hi,
know I
cousin
saw
Wendy.
some questions here. Everything's going so fast. All right, anybody else have questions about the book or anything you want to know? Well, I have another question. If there's anyone in City of Girls that you would like to, any one of your people in here, your magical, beautiful people in here, that you would like to hang out and spend the weekend with, who would it be and why?
Billy Buell.
Ah,
Uncle Billy.
yes.
Uncle Billy. Yeah, for a weekend, yes,
Oh, yeah.
100%. 100%. I had
Sexy and
so
hot.
much
Okay, got it.
fun writing him. I had so much fun writing. I knew he was coming in the book, and I visualized him so clearly. And he's one of those characters as a writer where I was galloping through the pages because I couldn't wait. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for him to show up. And I knew that he was going to show up in Vivian's bedroom in that scene, sitting there smoking his pipe, looking at her and her girlfriend in bed together, and that was going to be his arrival into their lives, and he was just going to be this agent of total disruption at the same time as being an agent of total creativity. I think in the gamer universe, they would call somebody like that benevolent chaos. Like he's kind of benevolent chaos, and I feel like the second he walks into the book, things really take off, and that's when the play within the play begins, and the dramas begin, and all that. So yeah, Billy Buell is who I would want to hang out with. Who I would want to be is is older Vivian,
Yes.
and in a way, I feel like as I was writing her, I was writing my instructions for myself on who, as best as I can see. I'm 51 right now, so who knows how things change. But as much as I can glean into the darkened glass of the future, the way she ends up living her life as an older woman is
Yeah.
pretty much a great description of what I
Oh.
think would be perfect.
And
So,
her clothes, like where did you come up with that? Like all the outfits and how she dresses. I mean, all of that is just amazing.
I modeled her style after Donna Tartt, after the novelist Donna Tartt, who wrote The
Oh,
Goldfinch, and
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
who I've met a few times. We're friendly. I wouldn't dare to say that we're friends. I'm sort of more of a fan of hers than anything else. But I know her through my dear friend Ann Patchett. And if you Google Donna Tartt style and you just see the way she dresses, well, first of all, that's how Edna dressed. I had Edna, the older British actress in the book, who shows up, who always wears sort of male-inspired, tailored kind of Greta Garbo suits. That's how Donna Tartt dresses, and that ends
Diane
up,
Keaton to
yeah,
bring
and
it
that ends up
right.
being how Vivian dresses as well. And I just think there's a line in the book where Vivian says, I think nothing looks more amazing on a woman than a man's suit. And have always thought so. And she dressed that way all through the 50s and the 60s and the 70s until fashion finally caught up with her. But it's more that the way she lives without a partner, that's very appealing to me. The idea of
Mhm, mhm,
living without a partner, but living within a circle of very close friends,
mhm,
and having a family who are basic who a group of friends who essentially become your chosen family. And I think by the end of the book, while the beginning of the book was really about what why it's okay to be a promiscuous woman, by the end of the book it's about why it's okay to be an independent and autonomous woman, and why it's okay, and what real lasting decades long female friendships are about,
mhm.
because not unlike Vivian, the foundational relationships in my life are my female friendships, and just can't do without them. So yeah, it ends up being a love story about the way that women love each other.
Oh, and I loved that. It was so empowering for women. Okay, someone else has a question. She would love to hear about how it feels when you have a breakthrough moment. What does it feel like when the mothership calls to you?
It comes in different ways. Lots of times it's a question and answer. It's a Socratic dialogue. It's very rarely is it like a
Wait a
oh
second. I
moment.
love her vocabulary. Socratic dialogue. That is so cool. I need to use Socratic in a sentence now.
Well, it's
Okay, go for
me,
it.
it's me asking it, it's me asking it, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? And it's a little bit like a game when you're kids and you play wait, what's the one where you play hot and cold? Is that what it's called? Where it's like you're getting hotter, you're getting hotter, you're getting
Oh, yeah,
colder, you're
yeah,
getting cold.
yeah, yeah.
Like I remember playing that in kindergarten, everyone's screaming, you're blindfolded going around the room looking for like a toy that's in a drawer, and they're like, colder, hotter, it's like that's it. I'm feeling it out. Like, is this what I'm here's an idea. Is it my idea, or does it belong to another writer? Is it fiction or is it nonfiction? It's almost like 20 questions too. Is it, is it memoir or do I turn this into a novel? Is it contemporary or is it in the past? Okay, it's in the past. Is it in the is it in this century? Is it in the last? You're just
And how do you know
inching
when you get a
towards
yes? Like, what is your yes?
it's it. Oh, I wish I could describe it. It's a physical sensation more than a mental one.
Mhm.
I feel warm and safe when I'm close. I feel warm and safe when I'm close. I'm like, okay, I relax into it. I think that this sounds like the way of the Tao or something, and I know it sounds obtuse, and I wish that I could make it more hands-on, but it's I believe that the mothership wants to help you in the way of least resistance, right? So if I'm struggling, um, that's a sign to me that that's not the way, that's not the path. And so I'm like, okay, so it's not this because this is too hard, you know. And I'm also very much guided by my own joy and my own, my own joy, my own happiness, and my own excitement about a project is also a signal that it's the right one. If it feels like exciting and fun and yummy, then it's a sign that it's the right one. So,
Mhm.
yeah, pain and suffering mean that I've strayed off the path. Pain, suffering, and struggle mean that I've strayed off the path. Ease, simplicity, warmth, contentment mean that I'm going in the right direction. And it's not just that, of course, for creative living, but for all living.
Exactly. Okay, so I've had the same question twice now. How involved will you be in the making of the movie?
Not very at all. And that comes from good long experience of
Damn,
working
there
with
goes my
Hollywood.
audition. Shit. No. I'll
I
be a background
essentially,
person.
oh, there you go.
Are you going
You
to
could
make,
be
you have to make an appearance because you like dressing
a
up
hat
in
check girl. You could be a
1940s.
hat check girl.
I would love to. Love to.
Well, I've had a couple encounters with Hollywood, with obviously with Eat, Pray, Love, but also not everyone knows this with Coyote Ugly. That was based on an article that I wrote for GQ about my time spent working at that bar in my early 20s.
Oh
Um,
my
and
God.
and then Signature of All Things sold to BBC, and they were going to make a movie out of it, and they ended up not doing it. I've had a lot of magazine articles, so I've had a lot of interaction with them, and my own way of doing this is to say, wow, what a great idea. Like when they come and they're like, we want to make a movie. I'm like, that's great. Thank you so much. And we sign the contracts and I take the check very gratefully. And then I'm like, I'll see you at the premiere. And that is a way to have a really nice life. Because
Yeah,
a way to not have a really nice life is to decide that you want to be part of it, because
yeah,
it's just a very different thing, especially for somebody like me. And I spend my life creating alone, and I love being alone, and I love creating alone, and I love the majestic power that I have over the final creation as a novelist. It's just me. It's just me gets to create, and what everyone does. Movies are these massive, messy, anguish-filled collaborations between business people and creative people,
oh,
and there's a lot of drama, and there's not one person, not even the director, who has a final say on it. It's just messy, and I think you have to let it be, because I don't understand mess. I don't understand the mess of collaboration. I don't work that way. And so when I step into it, I'm just like, whoa, there's like 700 people trying to create one vision here. How does that work? Answer, I don't know. And my opinion is just one of 700. I'm going to excuse
yeah,
myself, thank you very
yeah,
much. Goodbye. And I just let them do whatever they want to do with it. And, I got my time with the story. That's also how I feel with it. I got my time. And for me, truly, because writing is such a pleasure for me, the pleasure of getting to write that there's nothing that's going to be better than that. So once I'm done with it, you know, if somebody comes along and they want to make something out of it, I'm like, yeah, you can have it. I'm not using it. And I'll see you at the premiere. You know, I mean, if they've got questions for me, I'll pick up the phone, but I don't need to be on set and I don't need to be involved. And I
Oh,
think that it makes them a lot happier if I'm not there as
so
well, because
good.
it's one less person who has to be made happy.
Yeah, entertainment industry is a little mishuggah. I've been there, done that. It's a little
Yeah,
crazy.
and there
Yes,
are wonderful
it
people
is.
involved with it, but it's just by its nature. I mean, I think it's also because there's so much money at stake, you know,
Yeah,
in these massive studio productions. And once there's that much money at stake in something, insanity is going to be one of the side effects.
right.
Great art might also be one of the side effects. Might be, might not be. But insanity and drama will attend that because there's so much to be lost and so many people
Mhm.
staking their skin in such a huge enterprise. It's a big business, and it's very, very different than quietly sitting in a little small room writing a book.
Writing the book. So you just
Yeah.
release it. I love that. I love that. Trusting that they understand what this is about.
Well, trusting that
Trusting that
if
they
they
get it.
don't, they don't. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
trusting that they either will or they won't. It's going to be good or it won't be good. But me being part of it is not going to make it better or worse.
There you
That
go.
is something. Nope. I'm just going to turn it over and let
Leave
it
their
go.
craft to them. Exactly.
Yes, they know
Okay,
how to do that, and I don't.
how about one more question here? How does your writing routine change? How has your it should be how has your writing routine changed during the pandemic and during the book tour phase?
I haven't been writing. I mean, I write every day in a different sort of way. I write intimately. I write what Martha Beck calls light writing, and not
Mhm.
Lite, but Light. I write, you know, I do spiritual writing every day. I connect with source through writing in my journal, and that's just a fundamental part of my life that will always be there. But that's not creative writing. That's not working on a project. So I'm not working on a project right now. And you would think that this would be a really great time to be working on a project because I've been quarantining in isolation. I live by myself. Um, I've actually been using my COVID. Everyone's gotten a different COVID. I've been using my COVID as a time of deep rest. My normal life is pretty busy, and I travel a lot, and I talk a lot, and I'm on airplanes all the time. Or when I'm not, I'm carving out time to work. And I just took this as a signal from the mothership for me. Just don't do anything. Just be cool for 5 minutes. And a kind of I also think that at the very beginning of the pandemic, I remember thinking the world is divided right now between people who are doing everything and people who are doing nothing. And it's nothing against the people who are doing nothing. I was one of them.
Mhm.
I am one of them. The people who are doing everything are the people who are on the front lines of the medical community, and they're essential workers, and they're working at the beginning of the pandemic in grocery stores, and delivery people,
Yeah.
and sanitation workers, and the people who are trying to create a vaccine. You know, like people who are running municipalities and trying to figure out how are we going to get these kids educated. It went from being a world where there was a sort of a semi-distribution of everyone's doing something to a world where a whole bunch of people were doing nothing and a small group of people were doing everything. And I had that sense, I realized that, and I was like, the very best thing that you can do for those people who are doing everything is to do nothing. To do nothing so that they don't have another person in their emergency room, right? Like this is a
Right.
time if you're like sit in the bleachers if you're not in the game, and sit way back in the bleachers if you're not in the game.
Right.
And so I've been sitting in the bleachers, and I've been deepening my meditation practice. Um, yeah, I've just been doing a lot of recovery. I've been um, doing a lot of sort of cleaning of self and home, and I keep checking in with the mothership, like, is it time to write a book? And she's like, no, not yet. Do nothing. I'm like,
The
okay.
mothership.
Um, at this point, I've got such trust. I know that I'll be notified when it's time. And I've got some ideas of books, but I also have a sense. I had this sense very at the very first week of I got the signal very strongly at the very first week of the coronavirus that this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
Mhm.
This is going to be a long, hard thing, and part of my doing nothing is energy preservation and mental health preservation and creative energy preservation. And so every time I kind of get the urge to sit down and work on a book right now, I just remind myself, winter is coming. Winter is coming, and you're not going anywhere. You're going to be sitting in your house in New Jersey, and the days will get very short, and the dark nights will get very long. And you might want a creative project then. Right now it's summer. Go outside, read a book, relax, do nothing,
And you're
and
reading lots
save
of
up your
books.
creative energy for those long, dark months that are coming, you know. And one of the ways that we get through long, dark months is through creativity. And so I'm going to wait until I feel I need it, because right now I'm good. So when I feel I need it, I'll start working on a book when I feel like I'm going crazy, in isolation. But so far, I haven't felt like I've been going crazy. I felt like I've actually been getting healthier, alone, a lot of silence, a lot of stillness, a lot of sitting, a lot of solitude. And I know that a lot of one of the things people keep saying, and it's true, about the stresses of isolation during this virus is, you know, we are human beings are a social animal. We need to be around people in order to be well. That's true, but it's not the full story of what human beings are. We are also a spiritual animal. And there's not a single religious or spiritual tradition in the world that does not advocate for, at some point in your life, going into isolation. And so I'm just taking this as a signal, like, oh, this must be one of those times, you know. And so I'm using my solitude, for spiritual connection, and not for creative generation right now. And I'm not pushing it about being around anybody. So that's how I've been rolling, because I think we're going to be in this for a good long while. So, if my mothership is telling me anything, she's saying, "Be cool, be cool,
Just be cool. Just hang in there.
be
And it's really
cool,
interesting because
be cool."
we're the polar opposite. We're hibernating now. You know, I'm in
Yeah,
Arizona. We're
right.
hibernating now, and I'm just cannot wait until the winter because then we can go
Hmm.
outside again.
That's
It's really,
right.
really
That's
hot here,
right.
so it's just the
Yeah,
opposite. And I
yeah.
can
You
feel that
hibernate in the summer.
restlessness. Exactly. So this is wonderful because you're giving me that energy of, okay, yeah. So this is my hibernation time. It's okay.
It's seasons. It's
Yeah.
Rob Bell talks about this a lot, just to bring it back to him. But he talks about how if your life doesn't have seasons, all you're doing is being a slave to work. And there are seasons of hibernation. There are seasons of
Mhm.
recovery and restoration. There are seasons of harvest, and then there are seasons of planting and working your ass off, and then there are seasons of rest. You know, like your life has a there's diurnal clocks that govern our bodies, and there's all sorts of clocks, but there's also spiritual clocks in our souls, that give signals that say, be cool for 5 minutes, this is where you rest. You know, this is where
Okay,
you
I
rest.
like that. Let's
Just
quote. I'm
be
gonna have
cool for five
I'm gonna
minutes
have a
you know
T-shirt. Be cool for 5 minutes,
just
Liz
five
Gilbert.
minutes. Just be cool for 5 minutes. This is not a doing. This is a shh. You know, unless you're one of the people right now who's being called because your number is up, and there are seasons in your life where it's like seasons of service and seasons. You know, when Rhea was dying, I was in a season of, this is not a time when you'll sleep. This is not a time when you will be taking care of yourself. This is not a time when you will be able to do your work. This is a time, anybody who's ever been a caregiver for somebody who's sick and dying, this is a time where you will sacrifice your well being, and you will be shredded. But this is one of the things you came here to Earth to
Yeah.
do. And so now it's this time, now it's this time, exhaustion, fatigue, overwhelm, emotional distress, all of that. This season, you know. And now I'm in this season, which is be cool for
Mm.
5 minutes.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, so I just want to mention once again that where's that little banner thing? There it is. There it is. Tanya popped in to take that away before. I just want to mention once more, everybody, that Liz Gilbert and Rob Bell, they will be teaching this phenomenal full day program online. So wear your pajamas, wear your best Sunday outfit. Don't wear anything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just
But
dress from the
you will be
just
able to
dress from
see
the
you
mid
if you
chest
turn your
up.
video. Yeah. Get comfortable, save money on hotel travel. We're going to hang out for the day on Saturday, October 31st. We're going to be doing a full day workshop where Liz and Rob will be. I'm just going to be in the background doing my thing. and come join us. There's a URL. If you just go to celebrateyourlife.com, you'll get all the information. I'm so excited. I can't wait. It's my first workshop with Rob Bell, so this is
Oh,
going to be so cool.
he is electrifying energy
Yeah.
and beautiful, compassionate heart, and he really is in every way, and not just because we look like we share exactly the same DNA. He really is my brother. He really is my brother.
And maybe we'll dance. We'll all get up and
I
dance.
don't see why not. We've
What
done it
the heck?
before. We opened our show. We
Exactly.
opened up. Uh,
Seattle.
we did a New Year's event together, and a New Year's Day event together, and we opened it up by coming out dancing to the Red Hot Chili Peppers at full tilt, and it was really fun. So
Let's
yeah,
do it.
dancing might happen.
Let's say, let's go for it. All right, check that event out. You definitely want to come and join us. It's going to be really fabulous. All right, stick around, Liz, just for a second. And thank you all so much for being here today.
Bye,
So greatly
everybody.
appreciate it.
Be
Mwah.
well.
Lots
Bye.
of love.